my pleasure to introduce...
Say that now.
I say that now. From countless horror movies, film and TV projects.
Hannah Montana.
Hannah Montana, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. Mr. Brett Wagner, everybody.
Thank you. Wow, what a great crowd. Usually I get about 4 or 5. 3 are drunk, and summer. But yeah, so how you guys doing? It's been a great weekend, hasn't it? My first Flashback weekend.
Welcome.
Yeah, what an amazing show. Make a little noise for the staff. These guys really have helped all of us. They've really, guided us through the thing, got us waters, helped us tell us where we need to go, where the bathrooms are for us diabetic guys. Anyway, anybody diabetic? Yeah. Hey! Okay. Let's go. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Thank you. I'm going to let you just run with it. You are the first guest I've ever interviewed that brought not only props, but a weapon up on stage.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, this is my signature killing thing, and when I was lucky enough to play Leatherface for a week, so I do the sledgehammer kill with Kemper in the movie, and then I got heat stroke, and I was replaced by a wonderful man named Andrew. So, when you play Leatherface for a week, and you don't talk about it a lot for 20 years, and then the magazine started talking about it. Hey, there was another guy. I was like, what can I do? I mean, I can sign chainsaws, but I didn't use a chainsaw. So I found these guys, Scared City Productions, and he's like, I can make you a bloody sledgehammer. Because I tried to bring some sledgehammers to cons, and when your luggage costs you $350 because there's 5 sledgehammers in there, I said, man, can you get me a nice prop sledgehammer? So, trying to be a little different, so something cool for the wall to hang up, So it's worked. It's pretty cool. It's worked.
And I saw you sold out of a bunch of your masks already. At your
Yeah. So Trick or Treat Studios. Do we all like Trick or Treat Studios? Make a little noise. Yeah. So Trick or Treat does a whole line of stuff for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they happen to do the 03 mask, which is a mold. See, when I got hurt, I think Andrew came in, and I don't think they had enough time to do a live cast of his face. So I think they took my mask and figured it and molded it around him. But the mold they had for Trick or Treat Studios came directly from my live cast from Scott Stoddard. So I was all excited. I'm like, wow, that's my face. So so the masks have gotten really good. They're better. They kind of got a 70s hairdo right now, but you can comb it out a little bit. And we love Trick or Treat Studios because they do a lot of cool stuff. They got the new 1/16 scale, R.A. Mihailoff, and they got the Bob Elmore, Bill Johnson, and they have the 03. So, I didn't realize, I knew Flashback was big, but I didn't realize Friday night I'd be out of masks. And I'd be almost out of sledgehammers, so I've had to go through the vendors. The vendors are great here. And I had to go, do you have any of my masks? Can I buy a couple masks? And so some of the vendors have been keeping me stocked for the last few days. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the process of sort of auditioning for Texas Chainsaw and getting the role as Leatherface?
Yeah, so I've been acting for 30 years. One of the reasons I became an actor is because I love the phantasm, right? In John Carpenter's Halloween and Night of the Living Dead. A favorite of mine growing up was Children Should Play with Dead Things, a very campy horror flick. Shockwaves, Twilight Zones, Outer Limits, and Night Gallery. I didn't understand a lot of them, but I was like, well, this has got some cool. That was highbrow horror for some folks. But I got into acting because I wanted to be in horror movies. It took a long time. I got my first horror movie, it was a TV show, really. I did Buffy. Then I did Angel, a couple episodes under makeup. And I was like, well, eventually I'm gonna get into a real horror movie. And I saw in 2002 that they were looking for a local hire in Texas to play Leatherface. So what that means is they're gonna hire some bouncer at a club. They're gonna hire some ex Dallas Cowboy football player who's busted his knee, you know, or they're going to hire some big cousin of one of the producers. And I'm like, that is just not fair. So I went in for a commercial audition one day. And when you go in for commercial auditions, there'll be different rooms. One will say Toyota, Tostitos, Ford, and one said TCM. I was like, what the hell? And I called my commercial agent. I said, can you call that casting director and see if that's for Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And he did, and I had booked a Miller Lite commercial with that lady before. And she said, they haven't cast Leatherface yet. And my agent said, Brett would love to come and get on camera if he could. She said, yeah, we got nothing to lose. Tell him to come in tomorrow. So I went to the Salvation Army and got a cheap big suit that did not fit me. I was bigger than I am now. I was 350 pounds, so it looked really funny. And we got in there, and she said, what do you want to do? I said, just roll the tape. And I said, Mr. Bay, Michael Bay, please don't waste this role on some bouncer, even though I was a bouncer at the time, too. But, I'm like, don't waste it on some guy that's never, you know, been in a movie, or, I mean, because to me, you know, Gunnar Hansen, you know, Bill Johnson, Bob Elmore, R.A. Mihailoff, who was a dear friend of mine. We used to throw people out of clubs together. Two Leatherfaces, beating people up. And I said, just don't waste it. This guy was a big, meaty son of a bitch, and it's just, it'd be a shame. And I said a couple other things, you know, just taking a chance. And there was a little girl working the camera, and I picked her up and threw her over my shoulder. And she was like, put me down, you know. And I said, I'll see you in Texas. With her over my shoulder. Casting director said, is that it? And I said, yeah. And then she called me back the next day and said, Michael Bay thought you were funny. You got the gig. And I was like, oh, holy crap. You know, because not many people can say they played Leatherface. It's just, you know, some of the big actors, I guess, if they wanted to call in and say, hey, I would like to play Leatherface, and maybe Michael Bay or somebody who would say, sure, you know, sure, Nick Nolte, let's go. Or whoever, you know, Al Pacino, let's go, Al. We'll have a mini Leatherface. But I called 1,000, R.A. Mihailoff was the first guy I called, and I probably called 100 people. And she called back a half hour later and said, don't tell anybody, by the way. So that was kind of screwy, you know. I had to backtrack and figure who I called and said, please don't tell anybody. But we had a 2-month process, you know, and I was trying to get in as best shape I could. And ultimately what happened is we were there for a week, and I filmed one day, and we did some stuff, and I don't remember what we did, but the big day of filming for me when I would kill Eric Balfour, it was so hot in Austin in this house that had black mold everywhere. And back in 2002, or the end of 2002, there was all these stories about black mold in Texas and people, you know, getting brain damage. And I'm like, okay, this is wonderful. But just kept dragging Eric Balfour. I hit him with the sledgehammer, and he says, hit me a little harder. And it wasn't, you know, it's a prop sledgehammer we had. And we did, you know, a whole bunch of takes. He said, hit me harder. I'm like, all right. So I nailed him one time, and he goes, ooh. And I said, I think I got the right physicality there for him. But, you know, ultimately we kept dragging him, and I could feel myself heating up. And, you know, the thermals, I have very small forearms, so they wanted thermals on me to fill out the arms, and then we had the cuffs over the arms. And when you have heat stroke, I don't know if you've ever had, you can feel it coming on. So I hit the ground, and I said, I got to take a break. Went outside, drank 7 Gatorades. And after a half hour, I felt, okay, I'm ready. But when you're dehydrated, all your muscles are void of water. Your body needs water, and they tightened up on me. So sliding that door, which was the last scene I did, it was so hard. Somebody had a skateboard because they wanted me to drag Kemper a few more times, and someone had a skateboard, thank God, and we put him on the skateboard, and I was dragging him that way. And then slamming that door was the hardest thing I've ever done. It was so, and then the next thing that was worse was getting all, you know, when you're on a movie, all the principal cast will get in a van and you drive, but they dropped me off at the hospital. So I was like, oh, you know, see you again, it's nice meeting everybody. Yeah, but you know, 20 years later, I can say at least I was in a very good kill.
Yeah.
And I got to work with some really good people, and Marcus Nispel, the director, is a really cool guy who went on, obviously, to, you know, work with Derek Mears. And, you know, I enjoy going to shows, and I enjoy, you know, telling this story to folks about, you know, Leatherface for a week.
Right. right?
Yeah, so
As somebody who kind of got into acting because you loved Phantasm specifically, what was it like to work with Don Coscarelli on
oh
John
man,
Dance?
so that's a whole. So Brad Baru, who was a producer for him, Brad started off doing behind the scenes stuff, which is a big deal. Sean Clark does it for a lot of his behind the scenes stuff and for DVDs. And Brad Baru had a company that would go, Rob Zombie or someone would hire him to be there to film the behind the scenes for the DVDs. That's like a standard thing now. Everybody does it. And Don had finished the movie, but he said he needed something for the beginning of the movie. He goes, God, I really need something. And a copy of, this is how strange it is, a cover of Fangoria that I made the cover of, an issue was sitting there for the Crazies. He says, I need something like that. That thing right there, like a Nazi zombie with his head cut off, something like that. And Brad said, I know the makeup artist, and I know that guy actually. He goes, I'll get the guy. So that's a Sunday afternoon, and Robert Hall, who's not with us anymore, who had Almost Human, which was a special effects company that worked on Buffy, Angel, and The Crazies, and a whole ton of movies, called me and said, hey, do you want to work with Don Coscarelli tomorrow? And I'm like, all right, I hope this is not a joke. He goes, no, he wants to work with you tomorrow. And I'm like, let's go. Hour later, Don Coscarelli calls me. Hour after that, I'm at Walmart with his wife doing some shopping for clothes. And the next day I was filming with Don Coscarelli, which was one of the nicest, if you haven't been up there to meet him, one of the nicest guys in the world. His wife is great. And the great thing about Don is, I was such a fanboy that I was very nervous. But we got the scenes done. And when I came in to do ADR, just to match your vocals, to match what you said on camera, we did it. And then, Clancy Brown's walking out. I'm like, God, it's Clancy Brown. And then he goes, so how's everything? And he sits down, crosses his legs, and I'm like, well, you want to chat? And he goes, yeah, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh. So I sat down, and I'm speaking to one of my idols, for like 30 minutes. And I said, well, I'm writing a movie. And he says, tell me about the movie. And I told him, he goes, that's a good idea. And I said, would you direct it? He says, no, calm down. Hold on, buddy. You get a budget. Don he directs in spurts. I wish he would direct more. Because he's a great director and one of the nicest guys. Beastmaster, for God's sake.
Yeah,
Can I get an amen for Beastmaster? Some of you are not old enough to know, But yeah, so it was pretty cool. So, and then, I got to work with, which I had no idea. I worked with Tobe Hooper, and I didn't know till the end of this. I did a TV show called Nowhere Man, and that was back when I first started acting. Now I look at, if I get a gig, I look who the director is. If I get an audition, I look who the director is, so I can get a little ammo when I go in. And I go, oh, I'll pick some obscure movie they did. I love that movie. Like, oh, really? Oh, Jesus, no one watched that. I said, well, I did. But I look at the call sheet as I'm driving home, and the director was freaking Tobe Hooper, and I didn't even pay attention. So I didn't get I didn't get the fanboy out to him. I had no idea. I was just like, yes, sir, do this, okay.
I was wearing my Tobe Hooper shirt yesterday. He's literally my favorite director of all time. In part because of the original Texas Chainsaw.
Come on, Eaten Alive.
Yes.
Come on.
I love.
My name is Buck. I won't go into it, but yeah, Robert Englund. And Eaten Alive.
Do you have a different, because you've done a lot of makeup work and prosthetic work, do you have kind of a different process for acting under the makeup than you do for, for a part where you don't have as much dialogue or whatever? What's your process versus when you get a lot of lines?
So, now, I'm obviously, I think I'm a funny guy, so I've done 120 TV shows and films over 30 years, maybe 2% are horror, so the rest is comedy, or, I'm a bad guy, skinhead, mugger, thug number one, thug number two. That's I played so many racists, unfortunately, in all these movies. My mom is like, it's time for you to play something else besides a bad racist, and so in comedy. But no, for me, it's not a big deal. If I get some part, because I'm such a fan of the genre, I just think back of what people done, or I'll go watch a movie and say, wow, look what look what Bob Elmore or someone did, or I can even watch. I love watching Kane Hodder and some of this stuff, or some of these obscure movies, and I'll find Christopher Lee or something, or some modern day guys, and I'll just get a feel for it. I mean, I thrive. I love to work under makeup. I don't like the process of getting the makeup on anymore at 56 years old.
Yeah.
It's not the funnest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. I think if you see a lot of guys, they're entertainers, right? So I don't consider myself an actor because I do voice. So I was the voice of a very popular TV show, Monster Garage, on Discovery Channel off and on for 20 years, and I've hosted podcasts. I hosted a drag racing show on Speed Channel called Pastime, and I've done a lot of different stuff. So I've done radio shows. So to me, it's fun to do something different. So makeup, it's not a big deal. I love it, and I just I'll figure out the character, and all they can do is say, "Hey, I don't like that," or "I like it," and if you're an improv guy, like I know guys, if you ever know Derek Mears is one of the funniest guys in the world, and there's very few people. Robin Williams, you see how Robin's brain works so fast? Derek Mears has that same thing. So guys like that, I can't even, their improv abilities are so amazing. And I have a little of it, so if a director tells you I don't like that, then you go, what would you like? And you just figure it out real quickly. So the comedy helps, to be honest with you, in anything.
For sure.
For any kind of work, whether you're a bad guy or a good guy or you're under a mask. So.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions for Brett, there's a microphone at the center of the room. Please feel free to line up there. Whoa. And you can ask questions, but I just want to ask, you've done so many different kinds of projects.
Look at all these people coming in for Adrienne Barbeau.
Well,
that's all right. Haddonfield's been walking by my table for 3 days, and he gives me a smirk once in a while. She'll be in here, sir. Don't worry. Go ahead. Sorry.
What do you have a favorite? I mean, acting obviously is acting wherever you are, but do you have a favorite medium to work in, film versus TV?
TV's great.
Yeah.
Movies like The Crazies, we filmed. It's nice when so if you work on a movie, a union movie out of state, they have to fly you first class. They have to pick you up in a town car or a limo and take you to the airport and pick you back up and take you home. The Crazies, we filmed a week in Atlanta. Then I came home and I had a week off, and then they fly back out. We filmed in Lenox, Iowa. So filming is fun, but it takes you away from your family. And I don't have kids, but I have a dog, so that's like having a kid. Lola, that I rescued from Linda Blair's rescue thing.
Cool.
So yes, so my dog is a little schizo, but when you film on a TV show, especially if it's in LA, it's wonderful. You get to drive to the set, and they have parking for Brett Wagner, and you're like, oh wow, that's B right there. Certainly get that parking spot. Great catering. All the stuff diabetics are not supposed to be eating all over the place. And it's nice to be able to film a day on the set, on the studio, drive off like you're a king, go home, and just wake up the next day and drive back down to the set and have them treat you like you're, this is like I did an episode of Mom, and Allison Janney was so nice. They forgot to, when you do a live show, some of this stuff is live, and at the end they go, and guest starring is so-and-so, Brett Wagner, but they forgot to say my name, and they got down to Allison Janney and the other lead on the show, and she goes, oh my God, they forgot you. So she runs out and says, and Brett Wagner, we didn't forget Brett Wagner. And I was like, oh my God, Allison Janney. She just won an Academy Award and all this, So TV is fun. It's definitely a lot easier than being in Atlanta where it's super hot,
right,
or being in Louisiana. But TV is a wonderful thing, especially if you're working, 20th Century Fox or Paramount or something, which is a half hour from my house. So.
Okay. Very nice. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, just wondering, out of all of the Texas Chainsaw movies, what is your favorite kill sequence?
Oh gosh. I mean, I do have I do like, Mark Burnham, who's the newest Leatherface. I do love that bus scene on the Netflix one. Because if someone walked on the bus, everybody would pull out their cameras and be filming it and then not paying attention that they're about to get chopped up. I mean, I really love part 3. I don't know, Ken Foree, Vigo, that whole movie's good. And then even the one with what's the one with our Academy Award winner? All right.
Oh,
Leatherface in a dress.
Next Generation.
Summer?
Part 4.
Part 4.
Yeah.
There's just something about, what's his name? It's so good in that thing.
Connie.
So crazy.
Yeah.
So obviously they all have their charm, but I do like part 3 a lot.
Awesome.
And I don't know if it's for R.A. is a good buddy of mine, or Ken Foree, or just the crazy family.
Yeah.
Jennifer Banco's crazy in it. I mean, it's great.
When you were preparing to play Leatherface, what was kind of your take on the character?
Man, I just watched every movie there was.
Okay.
And the script was really wild. If you read the script, where the girl shoots herself in the head in the van, and then that camera zooms, and you're just like, I couldn't picture it. I'm reading, I'm like, how are they going to do that? You could do it with AI now, but it's not the same thing. So, yeah. Listen, I mean, The Crazies was a great, fun movie to do. I did a full burn in that, which, here's a funny story. So, stuntmen do burns. Actors will do a little burn. You could do a 3/4 burn, which comes up all the way up your back, or you could do it and it comes up to here. But then they let the stunt guy do the full burn. So they didn't like my stunt double for some reason. He was new. He's a nice guy, but he was new in the business. And they said, and Chris Carnell, who's not with us anymore, who was he was the miner in the newest My Bloody Valentine 3D. Chris, who passed away, was a great stunt guy, and he was on The Crazies. And they go, the guy comes over and says, "You do a burn?" I said, "Of course." And then he walks away. And Chris is like, "You ever done a burn?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Holy shit." So Chris had about 5 seconds to. I've been doing really well with the fight scenes underneath the truck with Timothy Oliphant's stunt double. And he says, "For some reason I trust you. Okay, let me tell you what's going to happen." So and they're putting goop on these clothes, and you put those on, then you put your clothes over it, and they put more goop on you. And I did the 3/4 burn, and then you do the full burn. And the guy said, "You done a full burn, right?" I said, "Yeah." Oh, crap. So, they'll say, I'm holding my breath, right? And then once I spin around, I'm doing this stuff and you fall down, they'll say, "Cut." I gotta wait you can't breathe right away because you're gonna breathe all that crap in. So you have to wait for the stunt coordinator to say, "Okay, it's good," because they're putting you out. And it was probably only 12 seconds, but it felt like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
yeah.
I can't breathe, hurry up. 11 seconds later, okay. So yeah, but as an actor, you're taught to, in the beginning especially, don't say no to anything. I said I did a commercial, and they were like, I thought I was going in for a baseball player. I did go in for a baseball player. I was, thinner and looked like a jock. And the guy's like, "You play baseball, right?" I said, "Yeah, I played baseball in high school." But then when my agent's like, "You booked the gig. You're a fly fisherman." I'm like, "What?" "Well, you wrote yes that you can fly fish on your thing." And I'm like, "I don't know how to fly fish." So I went to a Big Five, and I paid, or some sporting goods store, and I paid some guy $100 to teach me how to fly fish in the parking lot. Yeah. So as an actor, you're taught to say yes to everything because you don't want to lose a gig because you don't know what you're doing. Now at this age, I'm like, I ain't doing that. No, sir.
You want to light me on fire? No, thank you.
And I did, I was in the pro wrestling business for a while, so that's on I might have to take that off my resume because they think because you've done pro wrestling, you were Leatherface, you did all this stuff that you can. Hey, I'm doing an independent movie. We'd love for you to be the killer, and you're going to do all. I'm like, no, sir. I'll act for you, but you go get a stunt guy.
Yeah,
That's
right.
what stuntmen are paid for, and thank God they should be winning Academy Awards. I don't know why they haven't done that yet. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Brett's going to be at his table the rest of the day. Please make sure you stop by and say hi. There couldn't be a nicer guy to ever play Leatherface.
Thank you very much. Now listen, Adrian Barbeau's coming in. Does everybody like Adrian?
Yeah.
You bastards. That's what you're here for. No, we appreciate y'all. And once again, give it up for the staff of Flashback Weekend. We're very lucky this show. You're just here recently, right?
Yeah. Just
22 years this thing's been going on. All right, brother. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, folks.
Brett Wagner, everybody. Thank you.